and let's get ready for our amazing next guest expert. And it's Mandyy Thomas. Mandyy is a financial coach for 7-figure earning service-based women entrepreneurs. She takes a holistic approach to help business owners implement a system so they can more easily save for taxes, actually pay themselves a personal paycheck, build their savings, pay down debt, and feel organized with the finances in their business. Her zone of genius is taking the complicated back-end money stuff and simplifying it so you can feel confident and like the true CEO of your business. Mandyy, I was bragging about you earlier before you were here and telling everybody what a superstar you were in the Front Row CEO program, because you just took the trial week to a whole nother level of like, really, it's been, so we put it in the program. It was so good. So what we want to talk about today and what people are really curious about is, how are you working with your VA on the daily?
Yeah, so my VA has taken so much off my plate. And one of the things is I have a more complex business model. It's not quite as simplified. And that was one of the things that definitely was holding me back, was thinking, oh, but this thing is so complex. Can I really get it off my plate? And that was one of the things that I really just spent a lot of time training my VA and really just helping her through and giving her a lot of feedback. So she's taken stuff that is complex and also very time sensitive off my plate. And I think it's not even just her doing it for me. It's the fact that I go to bed and wake up in the morning trusting and knowing it's taken care of. And that right in itself is absolutely life-changing. So she really is doing like all the admin stuff. There's way more tedious tasks that we all have in our business that we don't even realize until you onboard someone, that you can just keep handing all of that stuff off. So I've been able to really start increasing my visibility more, which is massive for me because I have a lot more bandwidth. So that's what she's doing. And then literally as we speak, I just finished another trial period. Today was day 5 for my second round of doing this. And now I'm actually bringing on a content writer. So that was also something I was like, oh, am I actually going to be able to find someone from the Philippines that will be able to speak on my behalf? And the person that I'm going to be offering the position to, she has blown me so far away. Like, yes, I really helped them. The first day was all just them understanding my business. And this for me is going to be completely next level. Because everything I'm like, I would only slightly tweak that, and I can copy that right now. It sounds exactly as I've written it, except better. And so that is unbelievable. And I see her really coming on as a bigger team member, and also on the strategy side with me too.
Wow. Like, I am so glad to hear this. That is a question that a lot of people have for me, is like, you know, could I find someone that could actually write a blog post for me, that could create content for me? And I guess you just answered that question, didn't you?
And the other thing is, I'm the type of person where the captions that I want and that I put out are very in depth. So the level that I was looking for a copywriter, I feel like even from some other business owners, like the standard was pretty high. So I wasn't sure what that would look like, but she just blew me away for everything. And so that's been amazing, because honestly, I went into that going, I don't know how this is going to go. If I'll come out with someone, I had a little bit of doubt, but I'm like, I just want to try this process. And I give them kind of as much information as I can about my business. And it's been amazing. I've been super thrilled with it.
So you're going to make the offer when? Tomorrow?
It'll be tomorrow. Yeah, they're finishing day 5 today. So I'm just waiting for the last few tasks to come in.
Well, you got to keep us posted. That's super exciting.
We'll do that.
So can you, like, what would be your the typical fear people have is just being able to have, like, not knowing what tasks to hand over. Did you have that fear in the beginning, or did you always know that, like, I know exactly what I'm going to hand off?
I think if you just think about it in your head, it feels like you don't have enough for them to do. So for me, it was just getting it all down on paper and just keep writing, like, what all is there, and then realizing there's actually quite a bit of stuff. Initially, I was like, I don't know if I'll have, enough for like 25 hours a week of work. And then very quickly, I was like, oh, yes, I do. So there was more so kind of certain things I'm like, oh, can I really hand that off? And all it is just, you need to, create a Loom video, get them to write an SOP, go through it with them. And then really quickly, people can be trained up on doing things that you wouldn't even have realized you could outsource.
Yes. Yes. And that is, you know, and obviously we teach that in the program, and I referenced that a little earlier, but that is why no matter where you are in your business, you don't have to stop everything. And then, you know, you do have to make time for this, right? Like, this is work, and I'm not going to tell anyone that this program is not work, right? I mean, you know it, Mandy, but it's like, it's ideally, you really only do it one time, or, you know, in the most beautiful scenario, you're adding a content writer. And so you run it again, but it's, I don't know where I was going with that thought. So, all right. So let me ask you this. How do you deal with the time zone issues? Everybody does that differently. How about you?
So for me, there's really no issues at all. So we meet every Monday morning. It works for me. We typically, with my VA, meet at 10 o'clock my time. So kind of 10 to 11, 10 till 12, depending on what it is. And then I'm really flexible. Whatever time that she wants to work at is perfectly fine. And it works out that she usually begins her day before mine, which is really helpful because, like, let's say someone books a discovery call with me, because that's a big thing in my business. If someone books that at like midnight my time, and then I wake up and feel like she's already taken care of that. It's already ready. So I don't have to rush in the morning. A big thing for me is I've been able to actually start working out again, because I know that things are taken care of, and I can feel like I can step away and actually take that time. But the time zone, honestly, it has not been literally a challenge at all. It's worked out really, really well for us. And then I just have my schedule where it's my set hours of when it is I can meet with her, and then she goes in and she books. But there's been no issue there at all, actually.
And then is your VA part-time or full-time?
She's 25 hours a week is what she's doing.
And can you share any lessons that you've learned or tips you have for other people who are considering hiring a virtual assistant in their business?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing off the bat is organization. And that's going to make it so, because I'm thinking about this from the long-term sustainability. Like, 2 of my VAs have been with me for 3 years. So I'm thinking about this from the standpoint of you wanting this person to be with you over the long run. The more that you can have things organized and they have clarity, because it takes them time to understand your business, the better that everything will excel. So that's the thing with the Front Row CEO program. Yes, it is a lot of work, but you're not starting from scratch. I had taken some previous hiring programs, and it was still very theoretical, and I still had to figure everything out. And then I took this, and it was an absolute game changer for me. Can't remember the original question now. I did see just a question someone asked. So I run a financial coaching business. So I work with service-based entrepreneurs who make 6 and 7 figures. So I have a fairly complex business because I'm really looking at people's numbers and helping them with cash flow.
Awesome.
So I guess, so you said lessons, that was your question. So the big thing is just the more organized that you can be, the better. And if you feel like you're not an organized person, that's okay, because the program will literally teach you how to do that. The biggest thing you just need to do is when you sit down, just start thinking about the types of tasks you do, and literally put a sticky note on your computer and just say, record your task. So it reminds you like you're doing something and it seems very small to you, and just start doing Loom videos. And then when you're, even in your trial week, you can have people start to literally create those SOPs for you. That can be some of your trial week stuff that literally just by the end of the trial week, you've got a lot of them mapped out. So really just think about, you really just need to know and sit down and go, what are all the tasks that I actually do in my business? Sit down, write it all out, get it out, and just keep going and keep going and keep going. And that is how you'll have enough stuff that you're not feeling like any time is being wasted, because they can only do what you've provided for them. So the more organized you are, the better that they'll understand your business, and the further that you'll go together, and the better that it will feel. Because I also see it from the perspective of, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and they have VAs and they haven't taken this program. And I really feel like a lot of people are just, they're not only flushing money down the toilet because the efficiency is very low actually, but also their VA doesn't feel very good. When I do my interview, I actually pull up my trial week for them and I show everyone, and their eyeballs are about this big, and they already right then tell they really want to work for me, because no other entrepreneurs have ever been like this that they've worked with. And that goes a long ways, because they want their work to feel really good.
That is such a good point, Mandy. Like, let's just talk about that for a minute. So this trial week that we keep talking about, I show you how to set this up in a very systematic, beautiful way. And, you know, I show you how to do it on a Trello board, but it also translates into Asana or any other project management tool that you want to use. Okay. And so when your VA starts the trial week, they literally, you're going to give them a link to this trial week project board. And there's going to be a place that says, welcome, start here. And then on that very first welcome, it's an opportunity. You might have a video that just says, hey, I'm Mandy, and this is what I do, and this is my business. Welcome to the trial week. Just follow the cards, as you see them. And it'll say like task 1, task 2, task 3, day 1, day 2, day 3. And then like at the end of every day, we have a card that says like, well, the trial week that I just ran at the end of it, and I probably copied this from you, Mandy, but there's a card that says, like end of day. And then it'll say, what did you work on today? What did you enjoy? What did you find challenging? Do you have any suggestions? Did you remember to stop your timer? And so then they check. So it's really beautifully organized. And the feedback we get from the VAs going through is like, wow, that was a pleasure. Like that was fun. Like the work, the assignments were challenging, but like it was fun. I learned something. Because can you imagine as a VA, and people, you get these one-off clients here and there, and you go in and they have expectations that are completely unrealistic. They dump a bunch of disjointed stuff that nobody can make heads or tail of, and be like, that's like, doesn't feel good to go. You wouldn't want to go into a job like that, right? We all appreciate being given a good, a nice solid welcome and onboarding. So that was just a really good point that you mentioned, Mandy. Thank you for that. I have another question for you. What have you had to deal with having your VA do something that you yourself don't know how to do? And if so, how do you handle that?
So for me, more so what that's been is troubleshooting when tech stuff is not working. And that is something that just reduces my bandwidth. So one of the things was when I was going through, and it was something with Kajabi, I was trying to figure something out. I was going back and forth with the help. And this was something I feel like I may have even shared this in one of the videos for the program, I think, showing for one of my boards. And what I did was I basically, right after troubleshooting this with Kajabi, was like, I want to show them how they can access, like when I want someone else to reach out to Kajabi and all these other places for me, so I'm not having to do it. And I feel like that's something tougher for them. So what I did was, as soon as I had finished doing that, I basically wrote an SOP and I took a picture and I showed them, like, this is what I said to them. And then I said, what I want you to do is I want you to, any screenshots they share with you or links or anything, copy those and let's turn that into an SOP. So when this happens in the future, 6 months from now, we don't remember, that people can go under the troubleshooting tech issues. So that's one of the things for like technical stuff. The other thing I did when it comes to they're not really sure how to do something is I'm really teaching them, I want you to be resourceful. How do you be resourceful? So I have literally a thing that says problem solving filter, and I have them write out what the issue is, what they have already tried, what they think the solutions can be before coming to me. Now, I didn't give that to her right off the bat because I wanted her to know I was supporting her in training, but probably at about the 2-month mark, I gave that to her and I said, hey, this is how I want to handle things going forward when it's something that we're not quite sure about. And it really, really helps. Also, it's building her skills in becoming resourceful and thinking ahead, because I want someone who can really help implement and take things off my chest and my list of things. So that's been something, is like teaching someone. And I just noticed that humans in general kind of need help with that. My clients need help with that. So that's been something. And then what I just did was also just put some things of like, if we have Kajabi issues, here's different places that you can go to for resources. I want you to reach out to those places first. So really just kind of teaching them basically like YouTube and Google first before coming to me. So that's kind of what I've done in regards to those types of things, about where I have no idea how to do it, and they're also figuring it out on their own for the first time.
Okay. If you guys didn't hear that, that is pure gold. Okay. So let's just revisit that. The problem solution filter, right? And then it's just right there on the project board, and I love it. Like, so, find just everything that you said. It was,
Yep. So there's 3 things, and I literally just I have it there and I say, just copy it. So it's like, what is the problem that we're experiencing? Describe it to me. And then the second one is like, what solutions have you already tried? Please include screenshots so I can see because sometimes she's seeing something differently than me. And then third, what do you think are basically next steps for troubleshooting? Like, already start giving me ideas. And then who kind of owns that? Is that like, should I be doing that, or are you going to do that?
beautiful. That's just amazing. I also want to, for all of our viewers, I want to remind you, and I just want to encourage you rather, if you don't sign up for the program, I hope if nothing else, you take away from this Loom videos. Okay. So, and the sticky notes that Mandy's talking about. So if you just start right now recording all the things you do in your business, this is going to serve you if you get, all of a sudden whisked off to Aruba, for a 1-month surprise vacation that you didn't know you were going to take. Somebody could step into your business and they could watch the Loom videos and they could know how to keep things going. Because as we discussed earlier, the definition of a business is an entity that is profitable, whether you are there or not. And that is, you want to have basically a business that runs itself as much as we can. Right. And on that note, I want to remind everybody again to read the book E-Myth. It's just a staple in every entrepreneur's library. And he talks a good deal about that. So thank you, Mandy. That was just fantastic. You could see why she was, an A+ student in Front Row CEO, because she was always sharing these kind of golden nuggets with us. What else, what else would you say to someone who is on the fence right now about joining the program?
Yeah, so one of the things too is the past year, because I had VAs previous to taking this program, but I still felt like I was needing to learn how to actually be a leader. It's very different you running your business than having people underneath of you. And I kept trying to figure out information. And I just found that reading a book, those things don't fully translate to how do you actually do this and implement this in your life. And what I found was when you have a systems in place at this type of level, you naturally become a much better leader because there's clarity. Because a big thing is reason things don't work out and people become resentful is because there's not clarity. It's hard to communicate. And I see why when I hired a Filipino VA earlier on in my business, probably in 2017. And I look back now and I cringe and I'm like, I'm so sorry that you worked with me before I had all of this stuff set up.
Same.
We weren't set up for success. So one of the things is a really big side benefit is you learn actually how to be a leader through this process. I found that this was one of the biggest things to then manage people. I really see that the VA I have right now will be with me years from now, because I don't want to just be constant having turnaround and retraining new people all the time. But that takes it feeling really good on their end, which means we need systems, we need clarity, and we need to actually operate a business as a business needs to be operated, which means you have to set time aside to actually get systems into place. The other thing is, if you're working with anyone at all and you don't have things in place, I really honestly just see you're lighting money on fire. I see it all the time when people come to me and they have VAs. So that's just a big thing, is getting these into place, and also just how that's going to, you're going to grow as a leader is massive. And it's also very different because I have other people who are very contract based. I'm in Canada and one of my VAs lives close to me, but she just does kind of VA, graphics and stuff. It's very different because she has a full-time job. And yes, I like the work she does, but it's much, much different when she does it very flexibly than my VA who dedicates 25 hours a week to me. It feels completely different in my business and the opportunities that now I can take part in because I know someone is literally on stuff all of the time.
Wow. So good. And so true. So true. All right. Well, any other nuggets you want to share with us, or anything I miss?
Yeah. So something else I loved from the program was talking about the recurring task list, because sometimes people think, and this was me previous in 2017 working with that VA, was you're oh my gosh, I'm constantly needing to give them stuff to feel like they actually have stuff to do. And you feel like you're kind of just like a hamster running on a wheel, coming up with new things. And I really liked when they're talking about the recurring list. So there's certain things that I was gone for the past 5 days, but I didn't have to worry because my VA just knows she's just going to work on those regular things she does every week. And then I can also give her one-off tasks. So there's that. So that is massive. And then there's also where Jen really talks a lot about what are the things you can have your VA do that increase visibility and will actually move the bottom line forward. Because I see a lot of times VAs will do busy work, which is good, but if you can also add an element that's going to impact your marketing and your sales, that is massive. And that was one of the things where I now have my VA doing all the research for podcast pitching, which is something I never ever want to do the research on that. It's extremely tedious. but that's a big thing that is going to really help move the ball forward for me. And there's a system in place for it now.
I love it. Yep. That we call those PRDs, perpetual revenue driving tasks. And they're right underneath your nose. You just don't, we just don't see them. And so it is a comfort too, as the person steering the ship, to know that, like, okay, you don't have to be constantly conjuring up to-dos, right? And as you grow together, wouldn't you agree, Mandy? Like, you start to, the list of daily repeatable tasks, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual, we start to build that in, right? Like, we start to build it into our calendar. And before you know it, by the end of the year, by the end of, a quarter or 2 quarters, you suddenly, like, things start to just take shape, and where there was chaos, it's like, now it's like, okay, we're looking at our Google Analytics once a month. We're looking at we're measuring what matters in our business. We have the time to do that because we now have a system for that. Whereas before, we know we kind of need to be doing that, but there's a pit in your stomach because you're just like, when am I going to be able to do that? I don't even know how to do that, So, so that's great. All right. What else you got?
I feel like this also really forces you to, so I am an organizational systems type of person, kind of naturally. That is how I operate. But I feel like this program, if you're not, it is exactly what you need, because it really helps you to step that up. Because a lot of times I feel like we're just trying to survive. We're just trying to get through, like, the crap that's hitting us in our business, that a lot of times we're not able to focus on the as important things. So I really feel like, and it's not like it happens overnight, like, you have to be intentional with it. But now, like, I know with my VA in the beginning, I did block off, and I made it very intentional that I was on top of things. I was giving her feedback. Like, she would do something, and then I would send her a Loom video back so it could keep just building from there. And after she's, done some training and stuff. And now I really feel like we're really through that beginning stage of her being able to, like, really run with stuff more, that now we can focus on a lot bigger things. So really just consider, in your business, do you feel like you're constantly putting out little fires or stuck in the little tasks and stuff like that? Or are you actually able to focus on the big things? The other thing is, if you're scared of, like, trusting someone with certain things, you don't have to give that to them right away. You can take time. So for me, one of the biggest things for a long time was, like, giving someone access to my email was, like, the scariest thing. So first, like, my VA just started with my support email. She took care of everything in there, and really just building things up. And I know eventually I'll give her basically Stripe access. So let's say a client payment doesn't go through, or a client needs to move a payment date. I hate doing that. I have an SOP, and I will just drop it, and I will put it in her board. I will walk her through it, and I will feel confident that she's taking care of that, and I don't have to stop my day, because it is also something very time sensitive. People let you know right away when they need it done. And so that's the other thing, is if you feel scared about something, just don't give it to someone right away. You can totally do it later. The other thing that I really like about the trial period, because actually before taking this program, I worked with someone else to learn how to go through the hiring program. And I brought up to him, I said, I'd like to actually have, like, and I didn't call it a trial period, but I don't remember the wording I used, but I was like, I'd like to, like, test them out to see. And he's like, oh, I really don't think that's a good idea, because you're kind of, it's kind of feeling too competitive, and it'll make a really weird energy. And deep down, I was like, no, but then they can also, because the other thing is, you can talk all you want and show people things and interview them, but they still don't really know what the tasks actually will be and what you're like as an entrepreneur until you get behind the scenes. And so then I went through that hiring, brought someone on, and it did not end up working out. And I feel like if I could have did that trial week, we would have known right away that it probably wasn't a good fit, her coming onto my team. So that's something that's made a really big difference. The other thing is, you know how long something typically takes you, but you don't know how long it should take a VA to do it. So the amazing thing was, when I did my trial week, it was really helpful. I seen it took between 10 and 30 hours. I had 10, 17, 25, and 30. And it was really good, because I was kind of going for, I liked the girl at 30, but when those hours came in, I was like, oh, I can't hire someone that it took 3 times as long to do it. So that was really helpful for me to see, like, okay, with 5 people doing this, what actually was the average amount of time? What was reasonable to expect? What was not reasonable? And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs actually have unrealistic expectations. So this is something that can really help you to tell how much time something will take. One thing I've actually also implemented since was, now I'm asking at the end of the day, how much time did it take you that day? So I don't have to wait till the end of a trial. And then, because last time I was like, oh, Now what am I going to do? So right away, I know I can tell who's kind of hitting the mark and who's not. And much quicker, I know who I think I'm going to pick. So that's been something really helpful for understanding how long something will take kind of time-wise, because it's not just one person that you're testing doing it, you're testing multiple people.
Yeah, it's so true. And, the other thing that we talk about is that, when you get on the interviews with these applicants, people are just blown away, because that's when you see like, wow, what Jen says is really true. I'm getting MBAs and people with, these advanced degrees, and, their English is completely perfect. They're charming, smart, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pick? Because everybody is just interviews so well. And then you pick all your favorites, and they come into the trial week, and then, whoa, it was like the person who was super shy in the interview, who wasn't as charming, who maybe didn't blow you away in the interview, comes out the winner of the trial week, because they just are sharp. They've just got amazing skills, because everybody can do, we all know this from our own careers, right? Like, you can do well in an interview, you can pad your resume, you can fluff up your portfolio, of course, because you're always just wanting to show the best, you put your best foot forward. That's what we're supposed to do. But it's totally different when you really, put your money where your mouth is, and like people actually start doing the tasks. And, PS, this is really helpful for them too, because they might get a glimpse of working with you they really start to understand, like, I don't really want to work here. And better you find that out in the trial week than after they've been working with you for 2 weeks or a month, and then they turn around and ghost you, So it really kind of just, ever since, incorporating the trial week into my life, and obviously into this program, it's like, I want to do a trial week for everything in my life. You know what I mean? Can I just buy this house and like try it out for a week or a month, and, and then maybe give it back to you if I don't like it, but whatever. Seriously, trial weeks are imperative.
One last thing, is it okay if I share one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that I didn't even think going in was, I got the most amazing feedback from certain things that I had 5 different people's outlooks on. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. I gave them one task where I'm like, I absolutely hate this. It looks terrible in my business. These are the things I don't like about it. But I have no idea how I want it to look, anything like that. It feels overwhelming. Hit me with your thoughts. And I really honestly just thought that they were just going to do bullet points of like, I think you could do this or this or this. I had some people, so it's a really ugly email, like sign up page, but it needs to look better. And I was so blown away. I got mock-ups. They were like, I wasn't expecting that at all. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like now I could go to a designer or someone and have someone else do this. And it was incredible. So I did that again. So another thing you can do is, if there's something in your business that you'd really just like multiple different feedbacks, throw that on your trial board. And that was another thing, is I do ask, like, what do you see now that you've went through things that we can do better? So like, I really feel like for $75 to $100 from each different person, I got out way more. Even if I wasn't going to use some of their stuff, I just felt like it was the amount that I paid during my trial weeks for everyone total I was super happy. It felt very amazing, because you get your value out of it. if
Totally.
Of course.
Good point. Well, Mandy, thank you so much. This has really just been priceless. Really appreciate your wisdom that you've shared with us today. Where can people find you if they want to know more about Mandyy Thomas?
Yeah, so I'm most active on Instagram. I'm at Intentionally Wealthy Co. Co is in coaching. And I also have a podcast called Intentionally Wealthy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mandy. Really, really appreciate it. You guys